Seeing this pawn structure, the first impression is that black has an advantage due to control of d4, while white has no control over d5. This position occurred in one of my students' games. It's black to move. If you want, pause the video here and try to find a plan. One thing that is often missing from our thinking is checking what our opponent can actually do. Here, white's entire position revolves around one idea: pushing c5 and potentially placing a piece on the d6 outpost. If c5 is stopped, most of white's counterplay is gone. Now, pushing c5 ourselves is often risky because it weakens d5. It really depends on the knights. If white's knight is far from reaching d5, while our knight can reach d4 quickly, c5 can make sense. But in the current position, that's not the case. Let's see what actually happened in the game. Black played bishop e6, queen c2, and rook a d8. Everything looks normal, just development. But look what happened a few moves later. Suddenly white is dominating. The pawn on e5 is under pressure, the d6 square is occupied, and black is nowhere close to reaching their own outpost. So what went wrong? The bishop developed, the rook went to the open file. These are logical moves, but they don't serve a concrete purpose in this pawn structure. First, the bishop on e6 is not helping much there. In fact, that square is often needed by the knight on its way to d4. The second point is the d-file. It feels very natural to put a rook there, especially the a rook. But in reality, d-file is not that important here. Even if white doubles the rooks, black can comfortably control the key entry squares. In fact, the rook is often more useful on the a file. At some point, black wants to play a5, stopping b4. And b4 is one of white's key ideas, either supporting c5 or pushing our piece away from the same square. And speaking of c5, that square is central to black's entire plan. The knight can go via d7, c5, e6 and reach the outpost. Or the bishop from g7 can come to c5, becoming very active and helping to conquer the outpost. But for this to work, the f8 square needs to be available. So where should the rook go? d8 or e8? I prefer rook e8, because once the bishop leaves g7 and the knight moves from d7 to c5, the e5 pawn can become vulnerable. By the way, another reason to move away the f8 rook is that after knight d7 c5, white can pin the knight. So this is the setup black is aiming for. Moves like a5, rook e8 and knight d7 all fit perfectly with this idea. And among them, knight d7 is the most direct, because it immediately prepares knight c5 and knight e6. Now, white has many possible moves, but this is not the kind of position where exact precision is everything. Let's just take a normal move like queen e2. Black can continue with a5, bishop a3, rook e8, bishop h3, and now since c5 square is unavailable, black plays knight f8. After bishop takes c8 and bishop takes f8, even though we give up the knight, the remaining bishop is just way better than white's minor piece. There's also another thematic idea to remember. After queen e2, black can play knight c5 immediately, even though bishop a3 is coming. The point is that after queen a5 and knight b1, there is this knight e6 move, sacrificing an exchange. For example, queen b2, knight e4, and white cannot easily untangle because knight c3 allows queen takes c3, followed by knight e2 fork. Black has excellent compensation thanks to the outposted knight and powerful bishops. Now let's see what happens in case of queen c2, as this move also supports c5. We go with knight c5, having in mind that after bishop a3, queen a5, best for white is to trade on c5. But this position is already too passive for white, without anything to play for. Black on the other side can advance on the queen side with an idea to provoke a weakness or eventually take control of the a file. Instead of bishop a3, another attempt is knight f3, aiming to control d4 whole. But here black can even consider c5, because white's knight is simply too far from reaching d5. Finally, in case of an immediate knight f3, black can again go with rook e8 and slowly move their pieces according to the plan. But there's nothing wrong with knight c5 immediately, as after bishop a3, there is not only queen a5, but also rook d8, followed by knight e6. And here we can think again of c5 and knight d4. The important thing is this. Once you recognize the ideal piece placement, the position becomes much easier to play. Every move has a purpose. And the main takeaway from this lesson is simple. First, always identify your opponent's main idea, in this case c5. Second, understand where your pieces actually belong. Here everything revolves around reaching the d4 outpost and controlling c5 square. And third, and this is extremely important, development alone is not the plan. Once you start thinking this way, these middle games become much easier to handle. Now if you check this position with an engine, it suggests bishop e6, the same move played in the game. And that move is not bad. But if you don't know what you're aiming for in this structure, moves like that won't solve your problems.